Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Yo, what's up? It's Keith Yackey, founder and creator of MarriedGame.com, where I teach you how to have sex again inside your marriage. The best sex life ever, but with the partner you're with right now. Now, here's the thing. Guys hate getting rejected. Guys absolutely hate getting rejected by their wives. And if you're like most guys, this has happened to you before. But usually guys, they're asking me, Keith, hey, I don't like it when I'm being rejected. What do I do? And they're looking for a line from me in the moment to figure out how to fix this particular problem. And usually when you're rejected at that point, it's too late. There is no line. There is no line. The reason you got rejected is because A, she's not attracted to you anymore, but B, more specifically, you probably did nothing to get her warmed up, revved up, excited about you at all. Most guys, this is what they do. They come home from work, they kind of grunt and groan a little bit, drink a beer, have some dinner, watch the game, and then as they're getting ready for bed, whether they're taking their clothes off or taking a shower or whatever they're doing, they'll jump in bed and then they'll start to try and grope their wife or touch their wife or try and get their sexy on, only to be rejected and say, oh, maybe later, not today, I got a headache, oh, my back hurts, my heart hurts, my fingernail just got clipped, whatever. There's all sorts of different sayings, right? And guys are looking for that line. What do I say right there? There is no line for right there. You should have been working on your lines way before, and it's not lines. It's not lines, it's actions. You need actions, not words. Not words. Women, they hear all the words. My wife's like, Keith, you're good at speaking. You do these videos. You spoke on stage with Tony Robbins in front of 7,000 people. You know how to speak. But can you act? Can you do what you really need to do to show me that you're important? So here, let me give you a very quick tip. One of the things that we do in Married Game when we work with guys is we show them, we obviously teach them what the 5 love languages are. And I say, pick 2 things in any of the love languages that your wife really resonates with, and pick 2 of those things and do them every day to her. A number of the 2 things, not the same thing every day. And do it with no sexual undertone, no sexual overtone whatsoever at all.
Hey, it's Derek Richards here in Las Vegas, A Drink with Derek. And the sexy man that you're seeing on the other side of your screen right now is the guy you just saw on the video, which is, and I'm super stoked about this. Keith Yackey is my guest today, who's in California. Where are you at? You're not in LA. I know you're by the beach. You're a water guy.
Yeah, Dana Point. It's where I surf every day.
Oh, nice. That doesn't suck.
No, it does not suck at all.
You're a keynote speaker. You've done events with Tony Robbins. You're a real estate investor. I met you doing stand-up comedy. You're a very dynamic personality. You got that boy next door look about you, but you're still inked up like one of the Sons of Anarchy. But no, you're such an interesting character. And could you put together a cult, and would people follow you?
This is the best question ever, Derek. First of all, so stoked to be on your show. And I just always gravitated towards you ever since we did that show in the Air Force Base and then at the club. So just such good connective tissue between you and I. You've always, when I came into the stand-up world, I was, basically brand new. I had some bits, but you really welcomed me in and encouraged me, and I really appreciate you for that. So this is fun. We come full circle and do this.
I know, this is a blast.
Can I start a cult? Yes, I do believe, and actually, I believe I'm starting one right now.
I know.
Yeah, I really do. I think it depends on what you would say as a cult, but I think a cult is like a cult following. Like people go, I just like what that guy has to say and how he says it. Yeah, I think so. Okay,
so you're not going along with the Jim Jones thing of drinking Kool-Aid and everybody lays down naked and waits for a comet to fly over and you kill yourselves. So you're not that kind of a cult guy.
Not that kind of cult, but okay. But a good, happy, joy-filled cult. Yeah.
Well, you have started this thing, and I followed you on social media since we had started working together.
Yeah.
And I started seeing these posts that you were putting up. for your website, marriedgame.com.
Yeah.
Explain marriedgame.com. This is essentially, from what I am gathering, this is your manifestation of guys that have complained about not basically getting laid in their marriage.
Yeah. 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 And it started with me, interestingly enough. So 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 10 years ago, I met my now wife. And before that, I was on this string of being single and just living in Vegas. I was making a bunch of dough, living fast, and had sex with, around 200 women. And so seducing and figuring out what causes attraction was something I figured out and was what I got. 5 years ago, my wife left me, moved out of Vegas, moved to Southern California, found a new guy to be with, the whole Marianne, all because she said, hey, listen, dude, 5 years ago, you promised this, and this, meaning basically you're going to be a great husband. You're going to be a great father if we have kids. And she wanted kids, and you're going to be present and treat me like a priority. And you haven't, and that's not how I'm feeling at all. You run your business, you come home and talk about your business, then you fall asleep on the couch. And that's not what we signed up for. And so she literally left, and it was like the light bulb went on in my brain. Now, it wasn't that we really had sex issues at that point. That wasn't a problem. But when she finally came back, and I hired 3 coaches, I had to do a lot of personal work because I kind of woke up and realized this is 98% my fault. We'll put a 2% bitch factor for her, but like there was 98% it was my fault. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that. It may have even been 95.5, but let's go with 98.
And by the way, for the record, that number dropped from 200 to 199 when she walked out the door. Okay, back to you. Okay.
Back to you now. Okay, back to you. So listen, the attraction, seduction, that game I understood, but the problem was the one lady that I really wanted, I couldn't keep. And when she came back, it was 6 weeks before we even really kissed each other, touched each other, and we had to work through this whole thing again. And it was almost to the point where it's like, man, like she wouldn't deny me, we would have sex, but I almost felt like she wasn't into it. It was almost like something she was just checking off of her to-do list, like, fold the laundry, clean the dishes, give Keith a blowjob. Like, it was just kind of like that, right? And I was like, I don't want that, man. I want to be wanted. I want to be desired. And so figuring that piece out was key for myself. Live from it. And then 2 years ago, I literally moved to Southern California and befriended a guy who all he did was work with men. But I never went through his program, didn't really know much about his program. We just became really, really dear friends surfing. And I would share to him what I learned about women and especially our wives and how to get them to not just want to give us a convenient quickie, not just kind of make love to us, but like carnally lust after us and want it and initiate, and for the woman to really be into it. And I realized that the reason why women weren't into it was because they'd lost attraction for their man. And so that's really what Married Game is how do you become so attractive to your wife again that you can literally have the best sex of your life inside your marriage with the same woman that you're married to now.
Now, did you put this together yourself, or did your wife get on board with doing this as well?
So my wife was massively, so here's what happened. The last couple, we've just seen this. I literally just launched this 60 or 90 days ago. I've got I got 32 clients that are coming through with some great testimonials, great results, that type of thing. But the last 2 years, I've actually privately been doing counseling, as it were, and consulting in people's relationships, because a lot of people saw my wife and I's relationship and they're just like, dude, you guys really seem to, you understand it, you get it. What's happening here? And so we had actually had private clients that have been through similar things we've been through that we'd helped get back on track. It was just realizing and having my buddy who I surf with every single day realize, like, dude, you should just teach the men. And as I was sharing my frameworks with him, he's like, actually, I want you to come teach my guys. And he's got 1,000 guys that have been through his program. So he's like, yeah. So he's like, dude, you got to come share some of this good stuff. So my buddy Garrett J. White really prompted and pushed me into going, just after men and showing them what I know about the different frameworks that I understand.
Now,
hey, Derek, I didn't answer your question. Jesse was majorly on board, and Jesse taught me a lot of the things that I teach now, because as my wife, she would point out, well, hey, you're saying this, but you're acting this way. So if you're noticing there's a disconnect with me, it's because I'm actually noticing a disconnect in you. And so that's really what's happening. A lot of guys come and say, my wife, has quit on me. And the real answer is like, no, your wife just followed your lead, and you kind of quit on yourself and you quit on her, and she's just following your lead.
Well, you having the awareness that you did to not only, I mean, obviously the situation is, she left you, but for you to sit there and man up and say, listen, I take ownership of what I did wrong. Not a lot of people do that. A majority of guys, and I'm sure I've been in that situation too, where somebody checked out of a relationship and I'm like, well, you know what? You're out of here. Bye.
Yeah.
And you don't try to fix the problem. Like most of society, we point the finger at someone else. Sure. So for you to have the awareness and say, look, I screwed up. And then for you to go ahead and take the steps of seeing coaches and having conversation and therapy, if you will, to kind of get yourself on track. And all of a sudden for that light bulb to come on and go, oh man, this is okay. I know what I need to do. Now, is this something that is it just for married people?
It's actually for people in a relationship. I thought that my buddy gave me the name marriedgame.com. He's married, and I have a lot of friends that have gone through this, and they kind of have always leaned to me because they know how sexually expansive I've been in my day. And so they'll be like, well, so what do you do here? What do you do here? What do you think about this? And I remember one day we were surfing and my buddy's like, I was asking myself, what would Keith do in this situation? He goes, I need some game, but I'm married. So I need some married game. And I'm like, that's a great name. So I literally texted my main guy who runs all the operations for my business. And I said, hey, go buy this URL. This was like a year ago. I said, go buy this URL. I don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but just buy it.
Right.
So it's really more people that are in relationships, because people define marriage a lot of ways nowadays. Some people are like, I don't give a shit if Gavin Newsom in California or Sisolak or any of these idiots that are politicians sign my certificate. I'm married. So it's whether it's relationship, long-term relationship, marriages. And frankly, if you went through this program and you were single, you'd learn a lot about what does it mean to be your most attractive self. And you'd probably attract a really amazing mate.
Well, I was going to say that. I mean, that's something for somebody who is single, who is maybe not necessarily looking for a long-term relationship, but just something that it can bring awareness out about yourself, like what you went through. Yeah.
But what happens is usually with guys in a marriage or a long-term, like really committed relationship, they feel trapped.
Right.
And they go, okay, I'm laying next to this lady and she's telling me later, she's telling me I got a headache. She's telling me she never initiates. When she does give me sex, it's pity sex. She's just laying there. My buddy calls it vaginal masturbation. She's just letting me masturbate inside of her. And I'm like, that just makes so much sense. But isn't that such a great way of saying it?
That is great.
And I just recognized that had happened to me, and it was because of so many factors. There's actually, I realized it boiled down to four things that and we can get into the framework if you'd like, but I realized, and actually what's interesting is Jesse will jump on our group calls every once in a while, and the guys, the 30 or so guys that are in this core group right now, they look at her like a celebrity, because in so many of my modules and my teachings, I'll be like, and here's where I fucked up, and here's where I messed up, and here's how I really screwed the pooch on this one. And how did I figure that out? Well, my wife told me. And so when they jump on, they're kind of like, okay, Keith, what does Jesse have to say? So she's actually pretty integral into this. And everybody, we call her the insider, because everybody wants to know, well, what's the wife thinking? What is the girl thinking in the midst of this?
Sure. So when you say you screwed the pooch, is that actually part of your mantra too? 200 women and one dog? Is that how this worked out? Listen, you were in Vegas for a few years. Zero judgment. Whatever you got to do. Now, I was going to ask why. I was going to ask why should people believe that your ideas work, but you really kind of answered that by telling me what you went through to get to where you are now.
Yeah, that I did a video a while back and said, who the hell do you think you are? Because a lot of people know me in the sense of being a real estate investor, an online guy, throwing events and stuff like that. But what it really boils down to, we've got a lot of testimonials of guys that have literally they're getting laid once every 6 weeks within their marriage, and now they're getting laid once or twice a week on a regular basis.
Right.
And so there's a lot of testimonials in that regard. But when I tell people what my qualifications are, I literally just said, dude, I've been through hell and I'm back and I know the path out. If that's good enough for you, then I know I can probably explain the hell. Usually in marketing or when somebody's looking to get advice from somebody, if me as the marketer or me as the person saying I can help you can describe your problem better than you can, then instantly you're like, oh my God, well, yeah, how do I fix it? And I think I do a pretty good job of describing what the problem is. And that's because I lived in it and I really understood it.
Well, and that helps too, because it's like if you're going to talk to somebody about football, you can sit there and watch videos all day long. You can sit there and talk to somebody who studied the game, or you can go out on the field with Tom Brady and he can show you exactly, look, this is when I was in this situation, I got sacked. When I did this, the pass was incomplete. When I did this, it was a 70-yard touchdown strike. So I think it helps having somebody who's been there and has that practical knowledge of what they went through, and the fact that your lady said, you know what, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And for you to do what you did and then to get her back and for her to be more involved in you than you guys ever were before, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. I think I'm gonna run this by the team, but maybe my new nickname should be the Tom Brady of Tantra.
Oh, I like that. The goat of Tantra.
I'll have to give you credit for that one. No, but for real, the interesting thing is when you've been through something and you can describe how to get out of it and what really happened, and then to have your lady step in and be like, this is all true. Because sometimes I've done some interviews and Jesse will be on and the host will be like, hey, is everything Keith's saying, is it really true? And she's like, yeah, I'm more attracted to, I'm more into this dude, and we have more sex and more better sex than we've ever had in our entire life. And what's interesting is I actually think that's the way relationships should be. The more I know Jessie, the more I know what makes her tick, the more I know what pisses her off, the more I know her language, and I know how to speak to it better. And the sex feels more connected. And yet, we play a lot of fun games and we have a lot of fun stuff to keep it interesting. But when it boils right down to it, our hearts are extremely connected.
Okay.
That's where it comes from.
Well, now tell me about the game. Now I got to know about the games.
Okay. So I'll give you one example. This just happened a couple of days ago. Well, I have these 4 layers of sex. There's the convenient sex, which is the quickie. There's the common or like making love type sex, which is kind of common. There's the carnal sex where you just ripping each other's clothes if you're going crazy. And then there's the clandestine sex. And the clandestine's like, dude, we're doing it in the steakhouse bathroom stall, or I'm getting a blowjob driving down the road or whatever, right? And so when you go to clandestine, you need 2 people initiate. They want to do that. So here's something that we did the other day. Because we don't move in, we have a dream house we're moving into in 2 weeks. And so we've had to find some temporary situations before we move into that. So Jessie is an hour away at her mom's house. And so I'll go out there every other day or so and get a hotel nearby there. And, she'll just be like, text me your room. I'm coming over for some D. Right.
Right.
And so she'll just come over. We'll have fun. She'll give me a kiss on the forehead and say, see you later. I'm good, and be out of here. So just kind of back when you just would have a girl come over, you'd bang her and then she'd leave. We just kind of keep it fresh and fun and try and, we're both sexual beings. And this is the most interesting thing that guys are really shocked about. Because I'll ask the question, what was sex life what was your sex like in the beginning? It was always amazing, right? Nobody gets into a relationship and says, wow, 2 weeks in, sex sucks. I can't wait to be with you forever, right?
Right.
So you know the attraction's there. They were attracted to you at one time. You knew there was a sexual being and or beast that was unleashed early on. What happened? Where did they go? And that's what guys are asking. Where the hell did my wife go? And usually if they have a kids, they've been married a while, they've got other pressures and stresses, what happens is the lady no longer feels like she's dating some dude who's into her. She feels like, I'm a mom. I'm a maid. I cook, I clean. You know what I mean? So it loses that appeal. So we like to keep things fresh like that to really remember that when it boils right down to it, you know, we're lovers.
Well, and you guys, now when you did it at a steakhouse, which steakhouse was it? I'm assuming it was a nice one and not like Golden Corral.
Yeah.
Which would make it a little more seedy and dirty, to be honest with you. And probably not the most disgusting thing done at a Golden Corral. Well, no, that's what. One of the things though that you mentioned though is in relationships, especially married couples, they have kids, and the priorities shift because now I've got a good buddy of mine who has 2 sons that are insanely active in like every possible sport, and his wife is really into the kids and them doing their thing and so forth, and he has become not a priority. Now, I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm just saying this is just what has manifested.
Yeah.
And so you have when kids are this active and the parents are that involved in them, and then they're also doing their own jobs, and then they come home and they're trying to keep the place clean and make dinner and stuff like that. I mean, that's something that really kind of all of a sudden months pass and the couples go, man, we haven't hooked up in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, having kids is the ultimate wet blanket for romance, for sure.
Right.
But you know what? If you look at just a common factor, like obviously men and women get divorced, but women and children don't. And so I believe there's a biological DNA wiring for a woman to say, hey, thank you for impregnating me, but I've got this child that means more to me than anything. And it means more to me than feeling sexy right now with you or making you feel sexy, because I'm working with juicies and sippies and cutting apples and making sure this. So I think it's wired for women to be that way. And I think that's normal. It's a guy's job to take her out of that scenario and setting as much as he possibly can to remind her, hey, you're a sexy son of a gun. I like dating you. And that's why I always, we do date nights, and why we get away. We try and get away and do a staycation and stay overnight at least once a month. And we try and do it more. And it doesn't have to be big and expensive. You don't have to be rich to do this. It can simply be, hey, we're going to drop the kid off and we're going to go to a hotel. I mean, everybody can afford a hotel for one night just to get away. And hotel sex is the best sex anyway. You know what I mean? So it's reminding her and putting her in the context of, you're a sexy woman. I adore you and I love dating you, and being really committed to that. Most guys are not.
Now, your website, again, marriedgame.com. Somebody goes on there and they sign up, because I went to the website and I saw there's a thing in there where you can, type in your information, and there's a video that they get out of the gate, correct?
Yep.
And so what it does is it kind of, tell me how that works. If somebody's interested, somebody's listening to this, watching this right now, and they want to check this out, what can they expect? They go on the website. What happens after that?
It's like a 29 or 30-minute video that walks them through. Here's why you have the problem. Here's what you're experiencing. Here's how to fix it. If you want help, having me help you through this, sign up and we'll have a chat one-on-one. And I can, if we can help diagnose what's going on and give you the remedy on how to fix it moving forward. That's what it is. And I'm able to go through systematically through the frameworks. Like what I've discovered, Derek, is simply this, that if you're married and you have kids and your wife feels like a single mom in your marriage, she's not that attracted to you. If she feels like she's alone and doesn't have her best friend in this relationship anymore, her attraction drops. If you're not producing the way you should as a man, her attraction drops. Doesn't mean you have to be rich. It means you have to produce and be about something. And then most guys stop being a player. And what I mean by that is they stop going on date nights. They stop looking good. They stop doing their hair and smelling good. And they gain 15, 20, 80 pounds. You know what I mean? There's all these things. And I look at those four things, the provider, I'm sorry, the partner, the parent, the producer, and the player equal the provocateur, the one who provokes his wife to want to be with him. And that's what we're trying to do. Because most guys I talk to, they're saying, my wife doesn't initiate anymore. She lays there, not that excited. And that's not what I see in the movies. And that's what I see in the movies. Have you heard a porno called a movie in a while?
No, I have not. Now let me ask you this. As you openly admitted, you say, look, I was a single guy. I was a player. I racked up, 200 women before I hooked up with my wife. How does that resonate with women when they hear something like that? That takes a special kind of woman to hear that and then still want to be with you, because to me, you are a good car enterprise that everybody rented, drove the shit out of it, and now I get you.
Lucky you, man.
Okay, there you go.
No, here's the thing. So
no, I mean serious, because that that would be and I'm not saying every guy has racked up the Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds numbers that you have, but for you to admit that to your significant other and for her to be accepting of and say, yeah, that's cool. Now I've got him.
Yeah. Well, couple things. Number one, like Jessie specifically, she just thought I was a one night stand.
Right.
I was fine with that. Like, all right, cool. But there's actually an interesting spectrum that happens when people hear me. A lot of women will comment or DM on my stuff right now saying, preach, Keith, what you're saying is right. So a lot of women actually resonate with my message because they've got men that are pulling the shit that I'm talking about, right? They're like, right. Yeah, dude, he has gained 30 pounds since we've been together. He doesn't brush his teeth or take me on dates or help with the kids without me asking. And God damn it, I got to pick up his socks. You can't even make him in the hamper. So she's experiencing a lot of frustration. So a lot of women are like, bravo to you. They're a little shocked. Sure. 200 women is a lot of women. I have no diseases, so praise God for that. And
he has no diseases, but look at him. He's actually 22 years old. He looks like complete garbage right now.
Hey, but if being eternally awesome is disease, then yeah, I'm really diseased. No, okay, so here's what it is. But you got to also understand that a woman looks and says, based on like my resume, you go, wow, you've been with her. She liked you. There's almost this, well, if that many women thought of you as that sexy and that attractive, then it actually kind of makes me more attractive in their mind, which is a really interesting thing.
That's an interesting dynamic. Now, what are the biggest complaints? Because we're talking about the complaints that women have towards men in a relationship. So let me ask that for first question. What's the biggest complaints that married women have about their men? I mean, aside from the, weight gain, not picking up after themselves, being just generally disinteresting. Is there anything else that I'm missing with that?
Yeah. So I say this, and it resonates, and it's so true. The reason why a woman is frustrated, won't initiate, doesn't seem that into sex and those types of things is not because she's not a sexual being. You put on Grey's Anatomy or Outlander or Game of Thrones, and she's as wet as the next girl, right? You look at these handsome guys and you go, wow. I love making comedians laugh. There's a special thing in my heart to watch you cackle. I'll be honest. Well, because I've seen you absolutely just tear rooms apart and make people fall over their chairs laughing. So it's fun to make you laugh. But Their chief thing is like, hey, you seem checked out. You don't seem present in the moment. And actually doing this work, I've discovered that women want the same thing men want, and they want presence in their partner. So a guy, what is he saying? Hey, my wife seems like she's, thinking about Grey's Anatomy's past episodes while she's banging me, or she feels like I feel like she's going over Aunt Edna's salsa recipe in her head while I'm working away. They don't feel like their woman's present. But then you sit at the dinner table and you've got your phone in your hand, you're crunching numbers on a deal, and they ask you a question, you go, huh, what? And they're saying, I want you to be present. I want you to be involved. I want you to care. I want you to care about the shit I care about. That's why we're partners. And most guys have totally just missed that. So that's usually the biggest complaint.
Well, now let me flip the script on this, because a lot of sitcoms that we've seen through the years, whether it's King of Queens, Everybody Loves Raymond, I mean, they all seem to follow the same formulaic approach of the husband is the doofus who screws things up. He's the guy, like we said, that doesn't do laundry, doesn't do dishes, puts on a bunch of weight. He's blah, blah, he's just
Al Bundy.
Exactly, Al Bundy.
Yeah.
So let's flip this around. What's the biggest complaint that married men have about their wives?
Okay, this one is even easier than the other one. It's that women don't initiate sex. They don't seem to care about sex as much as a guy does. They don't seem to be into sex as much as the guy is. They're not vocal during the sex as much as the guy wants them to be, and it all has to do with sex. When in reality, if you ask most women, what is a woman's most sexual organ? She'll say it's her brain.
Right.
The brain. And so for guys, they don't understand how to engage her brain. And so they just think, well, if I want sex, you should just give me sex, when they don't realize that sex is a byproduct of becoming the most attractive version of you. So that's why when I work with guys, we're not talking about technique or positions or toys or any of that shit. I don't talk about any of that stuff. We talk about...
You don't?
No.
That makes me sad. Okay.
Yeah, I know it would be.
All right, keep going.
But the Golden Corral edition does have that.
That is not sausage gravy, people, on the buffet.
Married Game Golden Corral edition.
Married Game Golden Corral edition. Let's do this.
So that's usually what it is, guys. It's the woman's not responding sexually, but it's not true to say they're not responding. They've just checked out. They're done because they're like, my husband has dropped the ball when it comes to... So what happens is this. Guys feel entitled because they protect, they provide, they produce, like they're working their ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, well, I do all this for the family. Why don't I get sex? And it's like, well, sex isn't the payment for you just doing those things. Sex is a response, and attraction is a response to you showing up and not just being the provider and protector, but also being the provocateur, meaning dialing up the lover knob. So a lot of guys, it's really simple. I go, how did you show up on your first date when you're trying to get laid? And usually they're on their best behavior.
Sure.
And then they drop off a very steep cliff after that. And usually, I'm telling you, this is the biggest shock for me. There are guys that will get responses and reactions from their women within a week to 10 days. I just got a text from a guy last night. He joined last Friday. And he sent me a text. He goes, I just had sex in a steakhouse stall for the first time in 7 years. Not Golden Corral, Derek.
You realize that now this conversation is going to have the stall doors taken off of every legitimate steakhouse in the country. I hope to God that like Lowry Steakhouse and, these incredible
Ruth Chris,
Fleming's.
Yeah,
Frisco's, exactly. Yeah. All the doors are going to come off the stalls. They're like, look, we can't bring a black light in here anymore. Keith Yackey's been in here with his marriedgame.com people, and now look what they've done. The place looks like a scene out of Law & Order SVU.
Hey, one of my favorite lines of yours is it looked like a mayonnaise factory exploded.
Like a grenade went off in a Miracle Whip factory.
There it is.
Well, it's funny. You were talking about first dates.
Okay.
And a good buddy of mine, comedian Mark Cordes, who's out of Arizona, had a great line. He said, people always complain about first dates being a challenge. He goes, I think the second date's the challenge because you got to make good on all the bullshit you said on the first date. And his joke is, have you ever tried to buy a Heisman? I mean, he is hilarious.
Well,
but
that's funny.
But no, but you're right. I mean, people seem to lose that. How can you put it? That enthusiasm.
Yep, that's exactly right. And they wonder why their wife has lost the same enthusiasm.
Right.
But now it's a direct relation.
Well, now you got to have both partners on the same page, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you got the guy that comes to you, goes to marriedgame.com, goes on your website, starts taking your teachings and, starts trying to incorporate them into the relationship. How do you handle that as a guy where, say, I'm talking to you, I'm going to take your lessons, I'm going to apply this to the marriage or the relationship, and things still aren't changing?
So, and that happens. I make the promise that 90% of you guys will get the wife that you want to respond the way you want. 10% will not.
Right.
But 100% of you will change by going through this. So the goal in the first 90 days is to get you to become the most attractive version of you. And we have a rule in there: no complaining and no leaving until you can say you are the most attractive version of you. And here's what it is, because a lot of guys, they really are on the edge right now saying, I think I'm going to leave her.
Right.
And they're going to chase these greener pastures, not realizing that they're the ones that are making everything smell like all high hell. They're the ones, they're the problem.
Right.
And so I basically say, listen, if you can look, I want you to be able to look me in the eye and in 90 days say that you're the most attractive version of you. And until then, you're not allowed to complain about her. You're not allowed to dump her. You're not allowed to talk shit about her. You're not allowed to do any of that until you can say this. So the real goal is becoming the most attractive. But if at the end of the 90 days or a little bit thereafter, you can say, I am the most attractive version of me and my wife is no longer responding, then you can know for sure you did everything on your side of the street. And if you want to leave, leave. And that's one of the exercises I take guys through is, what if you don't want to be with her anymore? What would it be if you actually separated? And the reason why I take people down that exercise is because divorce and splitting is like this monster in a dark cave that they've never asked to come into the light. And so what happens is they're so afraid of that they'll do anything their wife says and act like total pussies, which drives attraction down. And so they're not getting anything they want out of their relationship, and they're acting like absolute just pussies, man. Which there's nobody's attracted to a guy that's like that.
Well, if you're trying to chase greener pastures and you haven't fixed yourself, you're just bringing your same problem to the next pasture.
Yeah, it's like a bunch
so the next pasture is going to be fine for a couple of months, and then it's going to be the exact same stuff that you went through before, and again and again and again and again. Now, do you suggest in your teachings things such as sexual games, fantasies, adding partners, bringing this whole 50 Shades of Yackey into the equation?
Not at first. No.
Well, I wouldn't think that would be lesson number one. Here's
well,
here's a butt plug. All right. Take this to Golden Corral. Enjoy your steakhouse.
These are anal beads.
There you go.
Okay.
Your marriedgame.com anal beads. Sure.
Oh, dude, that is so funny.
Because you have so many of these, and again, out here in Las Vegas where I'm at, and as you were here as well, there is a huge, it's Las Vegas. There's a swingers culture. There's the clubs that you can go to for voyeurism and adding partners and stuff like that too. I mean, is that a chapter that you cover in your studies?
Not really.
Okay.
And it's for this reason. Obviously, it's not the first thing, but it's not even in the first phase of the work we do together, because with people that I know that live that lifestyle, it's way more fucking complicated than just getting the one person you want to actually want you back.
Right.
So it's almost like, dude, you got to pass 8th grade math before we start working on this, senior college type
Sure.
problems.
Right.
So I don't, and here's also another reason why normally in this, the people in this phase, in this stage, are pretty insecure about what's going on. Guys are feeling rejected. Guys are feeling this. So if they actually even saw their woman take a liking to another guy and act in a sexual way towards another guy that they're not acting towards this guy,
yeah,
they would lose their ever-loving shit. So I don't think it's good. Now, I have an opinion that down the road that could be fun and do what you want, and it can be very hot for a relationship and that type of thing. But at this stage, for most guys, it can be very disastrous for them.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, you're coming to this website and your instruction, and yeah, you're pretty vulnerable. The fact that you actually took the step to do something like this is huge. Yeah. And I would imagine that probably bringing something like that into the fold would just make things, more, complicated.
Yep. It can be. So the sexual games might be a different thing, like that.
Right.
Just the games between each other and or toys or all that stuff. I mean, dude, everybody's so different, man. Like they're so different. And one of the things that I do say is, once you can have the conversation about sex and where you're at, I tell the guys, don't even tell your wife you're going through this program at all, because a lot of guys have already talked to their wife and said something like this, and this is how it sounded to the woman. Why don't you like me? Why aren't you attracted to me? How come you don't moan very loud? Oh, I'm a pussy? Okay. And that's really how it comes across. So I say, don't even talk to your woman yet until you can get to a point where you actually believe you're attractive and that you are, you're the fucking man, and that they should be blessed and lucky to be with you, and that you're showing up, because a lot of guys' audio is very good where their video is fucking shit and it's way off sync. And the woman's just like, until you get this sorted, I'm not interested.
Yeah, talk is one thing, but yeah, if you can go ahead and actually follow through on stuff, because you hear that all the time. Somebody says, yeah, I'm going to change. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then literally 3 days later, it's the exact same routine that was happening before. Yeah, that makes complete sense to go ahead and just initiate this. Yeah. Have the conversations with you, go on the website, watch the video, and then move forward with your program without your partner knowing, and then see if they are noticing the changes.
Yeah, and that's what happens.
And responding.
That's what happens. The women will be like, we have lots of testimonials like this, but I get them all the time in my message box, and that is, dude, my wife totally initiated, and she has no idea I'm going through this program. My wife is like noticing, wow, I feel so much more connected to you. Because actually the bulk of this work of the sexuality and relationship has nothing to do with the sex. It has everything to do with everything else. And I'll give you just a stupid example, but it's very real for my life. And that is, if we're leaving at 5:15, like say I get done with work around 5-ish, and we're like, all right, we're going to go out for a family date. Well, old Keith would be like at 5:14 with 52 seconds left, comes sauntering out of the garage into the car. New Keith, who gets laid a lot and has a wife that's massively attracted to him, will be down there at 5:05 to make sure everybody's ready. The car's ready. The car's, whether it's Vegas or here, you turn off so it's not, you don't burn your back of your thigh on the leather.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm helping my daughter with her shoes and making sure she's ready, piling everybody in, having the car ready, and letting my wife walk down after a long day with my daughter. And I'm initiating. Although there's nothing sexual about that act, it makes my sexual viability in her eyes go through the roof.
I'll be honest. I kind of want to have sex with you right now. I don't want to make it weird or nothing, but I think Just give it a try.
I like the direct support. I appreciate that.
Let me ask you this. What celebrity couple or couples do you think have the biggest train wreck marriage that you can see?
Dude,
just from the surface. I mean, obviously, you never know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's always two sides to every story. But when you look at somebody, you look at a couple on TV and you went, that is a mess.
I would probably be the easiest one for me that would pops out. I'm just going to say it would probably be the Kim and Kanye one. Like, I know they're like done now, but when that whole thing was going down, it just seemed like what an interesting pair.
Uh-huh.
So that I probably that, but Derek, and this doesn't mean to sound anything like it. I'm actually struggling to think of I don't hardly ever watch TV.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't know.
You can't go wrong picking any Kardashian.
Yeah, that's
I mean, look what they did to Bruce Jenner. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That whole last name is a mess. So you pretty much couldn't go wrong picking anybody, dating or hooked up with anybody in that circle. Yeah.
That's it's so interesting. And they live such different lives than we do. You know what I mean? Can you imagine having that many people wanting your attention and wanting your autograph and all that other bullshit, man? So I would probably say that. But I was also thinking of couples that seem to have done a really good job at their relationship. And, I would think this is for me, which might be interesting, but Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn have been around forever.
Yeah.
And seem to really enjoy each other's presence. And they were never officially married.
Right.
I don't think they gave a shit about that. They weren't looking for some piece of paper. They were just like, hey, I'm into this. I'm into this person. They seem to really done it well.
Well, I think everybody should hop on your website and check it out, marriedgame.com. Follow you on social media, Keith Yackey. Please go on there, check it out. Your video clips, your little video shorts that you do that tease to your website, marriedgame.com, are super, super cool. Very well put together. I love the way you present this whole thing. You're one of the most sincere, genuine, and funny people that I've run across, and I think everybody can benefit from your energy and what you put out there. Seriously.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And a lot of guys come to me in trouble, but we've even had some guys come that just say, I'm good, but it's not great, and I want it to be great, and I think you can help me make it great. What do I got to do? And that's
get a tune-up. Your car doesn't have to be dead on the side of the road with smoke coming out from under the hood before you got to go, maybe I should, get this thing looked at.
True, man.
I'll tell you what, man. This is super, super cool. I'm so happy for you. Again, congratulations. The website, marriedgame.com. Go on there. Check it out. Highly recommended. Great speaker. Funny dude. Thanks for your time, buddy. I appreciate you.
Derek, thank you so much, man. It's been an honor.
Thanks for listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.